Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Super Game Brothers podcast. This is a weekly podcast all about the board games and video games that we have been playing, the news in both of those industries, and lots of other fun segments. My name is David, and I'm joined every week by my brother, Devin, who looks like Frodo wrapped in spiderweb over there in his closet. How are you doing, Frodo?
She-Love is coming.
She-Love is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a girl or a guy?
It's a girl, I think. I mean,
really?
I don't know a ton about the deep lore of Lord of the Rings, but in the video game Shadow of War, because there was Shadow of Mordor, then Shadow of War, She-Love is actually like a female, like human-shaped character for a lot of the game. And you'll talk to her, and then I think she does. I didn't ever finish that one. I need to finish it. But then she turns into the spider. So I don't know if it's like a magical spider that can transform, or if that was something put in the video game that is not true to the fiction. But I imagine that using Tolkien stuff, they would have had to check with the Tolkien estate that was okay that they used She-Love in that way. So I'm going to take it as canon until I know better. But so I don't know, might be a woman.
Speaking of that, did you finish the Rings of Power yet or no?
I did, yeah. Me and my wife finished it just a couple days ago. I really like it. It gets a lot of
my gosh.
It gets a lot of hate online.
It's so good.
I think just because Lord of the Rings fans have impossible expectations because, you know, the trilogy from Peter Jackson was so good. I don't know why they kept those impossible expectations though, because the Hobbit trilogy is just like not as good. It's like okay. And in my opinion, Rings of Power is quite a few steps above the Hobbit. Like I like it more than those. So yeah, I really enjoy it. We have a great time watching it. I want to start the first season again and watch them all. I still think it's one of the most beautiful like shows on TV I've ever seen. Just incredible like cinematography. The acting is really good. I do think the writing is a little silly sometimes. And there's a couple characters I don't love. I don't love Disa. I think she's a little too intense. But she's kind of supposed to be is like
I just watched the whole series. I have no idea who Disa is.
Isn't that her name? Prince Durin's wife, the one that can sing to the mountain.
Oh, okay. I'm hit and miss with her. Sometimes I'm like, she's cool, and then I don't know.
I agree. Sometimes she has a good moment, but usually I'm like, can you calm down? Your voice is so loud, and are you yelling at everybody? But I don't know. She's kind of cool. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that thing they just did makes perfect sense, but I don't even really care. Yeah, really loved it. Rings of Power, man, 9 out of 10 for me. Just so fun.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's nearly a 10 out of 10 for me.
So good.
I don't want to spoil anything. When did this end? When did the last episode come out?
I think just last week. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Who, I guess, just avoiding spoilers. Who are your favorite characters in the show? I have a few. I'll just tell you mine really quick. Elrond is my favorite. I think the actor does a really good job. And he's like I don't even know, like the moral compass of the show, you know, like never does the wrong thing. Really like Elrond. I also like Elendil a lot. He's a cool guy. And
I'm going to pretend like I know who that is.
That's Isildur's dad. He's like I don't know the term, the captain in Numenor or whatever that is friends with the queen. I like Isildur quite a bit as well. I didn't so much in the first season, but he's come around. And I like the what's his name? Arondir, the black elf. I like him. He's a little too intense sometimes too, but I like him. And then the character that plays Halbrand, I think he's a good actor. He does a great job. Halbrand being Anatar in this last season. Anatar being the one helping Celebrimbor with the rings.
Okay. Yes.
And Celebrimbor, I really liked him too.
I agree. But the guy you said before, freaking slays the part.
He does really good.
Oh my gosh. I just am like in awe every time. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm trying to say anything without spoiling anything.
I mean,
it's super good.
I think we can spoil the season 1 twist because Amazon is basically spoiling it in every single trailer and promotional item. There's also trains honking by my house, so sorry everyone for that. Where they just show him and say that he's Sauron. So spoilers, if you haven't seen the first season, he's obviously not just a nice dude. And so yeah, in the last couple episodes of this second season, when he goes like full blown and evil for a minute, it was pretty baller. He's cool.
He's very cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know who my favorite characters are. Once again, if I start naming characters, I'll be spoiling stuff. But I like that guy, the handler.
Halbrand.
Halbrand. And I know you don't like Nori, but I kind of do. And
yeah, I think she's okay. Want to know who I don't like? This is going to sound really mean.
Don't say it.
This is going to sound really mean, so I'm sorry to everyone. The guy that Poppy kissed, like, could they have chosen, like, a more derpy looking dude? My wife and I couldn't
I know
get
who
over
you're
that.
talking about. Uh-huh. I like Galadriel a lot. I know her personality's kind of weird, but I also think I just like her because she's like super pretty. And
I
she's
like
interesting.
How like driven she is. Sometimes she's a little overbearing, but she's like, I'm gonna go and do this thing. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, everyone should watch that. It's fantastic.
It really is really good. I don't know how well this second season performed. I mean, it's been number 1 on like their app. But I don't know. Have they confirmed a season 3? I imagine it's got to be huge, right? I would be very surprised if they were not going to, but I'm oh, come on, get out of here, you stupid ad. Disable ad blocker. Fine, I will pause on this site. The viewership for season 2, it says ratings were slightly down from season 1, but they were still strong overall, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Amazon said that The Rings of Power is a top 5 all-time season for Prime Video and has been number 1 for the service since its return. So I don't know. It makes sense that like season 2 would be performing slightly worse than season 1. You just know, but I don't feel like anybody's going to watch season 2 unless you've seen season 1. So just by default, you're kind of trending down. But anyways, yeah, really loved it. I'm pumped to watch it again. I think it's really cool that like there's that much content. What is there, 8 episodes, and I can't remember how many were in the first season, but probably 8 as well. And they're about an hour each. A couple of them are pushing like an hour and a half maybe, but yeah, that's like 8, maybe 9 hours of content in the first season and 9 or 10 in the second. I think it's awesome. It's really fun. We've also
that's a good point. That's more hours than like Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3, not extended.
Even extended, like you're getting close. Because like, yeah, we've been watching them extended with our neighbors. I think I've mentioned we're on Return of the King now. And I think Fellowship's about 3 hours. There's like 30 minutes of credits, so that makes it seem longer than it actually was. I think it's like 3 hours. 2 Towers a little bit longer, and Return of the King is like, I think, close to 4. So I don't know, what's that, like 10 and a half hours? So it's about the same length as one of the seasons, I would say. Obviously, I think that's probably the best trilogy of movies ever made, so I think it's of a just slightly more consistently perfect quality, while Rings of Power, I think, hit some really cool highs. And really great. Can't recommend it enough.
Well, I'm going to hit you with a bomb of horror films that you should not watch. So,
because they sucked, or were like too gory, or what's that?
Yeah. I've seen a few recently. Salem's Lot. Super stoked for it. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been excited for that one. I love the old one.
Well, don't be.
Was it dumb?
It's pretty dumb.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
And then Apartment 7A happens before Rosemary's Baby. Kind of dumb. The Platform 2.
Netflix one? Okay.
Dumb.
I think I've seen just the trailer for the first Platform. That's one where like the food comes down the middle. Is that right? On that platform.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That was pretty dumb. Just saying. The Front Room was fine.
Fine. Okay.
What else we got? I haven't seen Cuckoo yet. Cuckoo? I don't know how to pronounce it. I haven't seen it. Do want to see it though. I did watch House of Spoils. I think it was fine. It's What's Inside was a weird movie. They like take something where they actually their souls like go into their friend's body, so no one knows whose body they're in.
Yeah,
it's fine. And then let's see what else. Did I watch anything else? Maybe I didn't. I feel like I did watch one more big one. Wait. No, I have two more. Hold Your Breath, or not. Hold your breath. What am I saying? Okay, Speak No Evil. In another way of saying hold your breath. I liked that show. I enjoyed it.
I thought you'd already seen that one. Isn't that the one with the... No, that's Talk to Me. What's Speak No Evil? Oh, that's the one with... Okay, I know what one you're talking about. It's the actor's name, James McAvoy. Yeah.
Yes, that one was pretty good. Entertaining, keeps you hooked. And a movie called Blink Twice. Actually has Channing Tatum in it. That was entertaining as well.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz. Yeah. Okay, so you liked those last two, but all the other ones you watched were just fine or bad?
I mean, I'd watch them if you like horror movies, but meh.
Even those two are just meh?
Oh, no, I'm referring to the ones to all the others. Okay. Like, the last two were pretty good, to be honest. Both of them.
Blink Twice and Speak No Evil. Cool. Well, your horror movie October seems to be full steam ahead. So that's
it's
fun.
Full steam. I'm on the train.
Devin is the conductor of the train.
I'm looking forward to Nosferatu.
Yeah.
On Christmas. I've watched the old one. I've watched one of the old ones, and I was so intrigued. I was like, this is the strangest thing I've ever seen. So
they are weird. Isn't that first one made like 100 years ago? Yeah, 1922. And then there's one in 1979, it looks like. But
I probably watched the 79.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 102 years ago. That's nuts.
That is nuts. I ate some weird food recently. Like last week, we had like the lobster. Do you remember that?
In the butter?
Yeah. So we had that last week. And then this week, I had like trout, like fish. It was way good. Boneless. It was amazing. And then I had a piece of pizza that's got some like white sauce. And it had lobster and artichoke on it. And I don't think I've eaten an artichoke since I was 4.
Yeah, I feel like I only eat them rarely too, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, I don't think anything else is going on with me. I don't think.
That's fun. Lacey and I were talking just last night about food. Are there any food you don't like? We were trying to think of one that my wife doesn't like, and that's tough. She will eat basically anything. There was only one thing we could come up with, and we think it's just because she hasn't tried it in a long time, and I used to eat them all the time. They're kind of smelly, so I don't think she liked it back then. Have you ever had a kipper snack? It's just salted herring, like in a little can. I love those. She hasn't tried one in probably 10 years, but doesn't. Other than that, I don't think there is a food she doesn't like, which is weird.
Very. I'm not picky at all, but there is one food that needs to disappear forever, and that is celery. screw that food. That food sucks. Disgusting.
It is like a food I feel like you only eat if you're trying to like watch your calories, because it's supposed to be like a negative calorie because it takes more energy to chew it or something than it and it like has a ton of fiber, obviously, and like the very thick fibers you have to chew through. But yeah, I don't generally love celery either. I think it's okay in some stuff, like in a good chicken noodle soup or something. I don't mind a piece of celery. And I actually don't mind eating it plain either, or with some peanut butter on it or something. But I'd rather have a different vegetable. It's like not my first choice.
Yeah, it's crunchy and bitter, and I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. When I was young, I hated most foods, but now I'll eat tomatoes, mushrooms, onions, pickles. I'll eat all the things that I didn't like when I was young.
Yeah.
And that's very strange that our taste buds adapt or grow or whatever they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm also not very picky. The only one that I really have, I don't like some desserts because I think they're too rich, like divinity. I think we talked about last week. I just don't really like that. But other than that, which isn't really a food, that's like fake food that's been spun into a dessert. I don't love melon. I don't love cantaloupe and honeydew for some reason. I don't know why. Watermelon's okay. I like watermelon. But other than that, I don't think there's really a food I don't like. We were trying to come up with gross ones, and we couldn't think of very many. I was like, do you like prunes? And Lacey was like, yeah, prunes are good. And I agree. I like a good prune. So I don't know. It's hard to think of foods that you don't like if you're not picky.
Yeah, I don't know of any others. I don't even know what a prune is. Is that a raisin?
I think it's a dried plum. They're bigger than so a raisin is a dried grape, right? I think a prune is a dried plum, so they're a bit bigger.
A raisin is a dried grape?
I think so. Is a raisin a dried grape?
Let's take an amazing fruit and ruin it.
A raisin is a dried grape that's made from a variety of grape types and dried using different methods. Yeah.
Interesting.
I love grapes. Grapes are the best. But,
they are the best.
Devin, it's been Prime Day the last couple days. I don't know what Prime Day is, since I thought there was one in July, but I guess there is Prime Big Deals Day in October. Did you buy anything? Or are you abstaining from the blatant consumerism?
Dude, I don't remember what I was scrolling on. I don't know if it was TikTok or if I was on Amazon Prime Video. But 2 different times it popped up and said it's Prime Day. And it said you could click like look into Prime Day or not interested or close. I think if you close it, it's going to pop up again for you. And that's probably why I saw it twice. But no, I haven't. I haven't ordered anything. But I probably should, because I'd like to get like supplements for fitness in bulk. You can get way better deals online.
Yeah.
I went to a GNC the other day and had to take out a loan. It was crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I feel bad not shopping at like places like that. But man, when Amazon just like absolutely crushes their price, it's hard.
Oh, yeah. I asked the guy, I said, hey, I was like, do people buy in here? Or do they come in here and go, nah, I'll see you later. Thanks for the information. Because I've worked retail and I know the prices are way better. He's like, yeah, it happens a lot. He's like, I wouldn't even blame you if you went and did that. That's probably what I would do. I was like, well, do you get commission? He's like, well, if you buy our brand, we do a little bit. I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy from you and waste $40 doing this, I guess.
Wow. Look at that. Altruism and generosity.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if it was worth it. I don't know.
That's funny. Cool. Well, yeah, we bought a couple Halloween costumes for kids. And then we'll talk about the other thing I've bought, but I think I bought 15 board games, which is too many. But man, I couldn't. Some of those deals were nuts. I got 2 games that are like $80 for like 15. I'm like, can't say no to that.
Wait. So you're getting better deals on the items and free shipping?
Yeah.
Well, we need to change the name. Because Prime shipping means free shipping. If it's Prime Day, I'm expecting free shipping. I didn't know you were going to discount all the items I love. So after this episode, you already know where I'm going.
Yeah, no, they have great deals going on. I got so many games for like 50%, 60% off. And we'll talk about them later because we're going to blitz through them in like a little mini blitz. But yeah, Prime Day, got me a little bit. Cool. Well, Devin, we've been chatting here for a few minutes, so let's hop into the show. Like I mentioned at the top, we do this podcast every week. We talk about the board games and video games that we've been playing, some news that's going on, new games that have been announced, and it's generally a fun time. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the show on Spotify. Give us a good review on Amazon Podcasts. Amazon's not the right word. Apple Podcasts. And check us out on Patreon if you can. That's patreon.com/SuperGameBrothers. You can get our show early there and some other perks as well. All right, Devin, let's hop right into the news mini nuke. In the first section here, we're going to go over game announcements and trailers. And this first section, I'm very pumped about. We talked last week about how much I'm kind of obsessed with Devir's games lately. And I guess I should maybe step back just a little bit. The SPIEL convention in Essen, Germany, I think ended over the weekend. So it's the biggest board game convention of the year. Takes place every year and has for the last 41 years. Big deal. At this convention, a lot of new games are shown and even released. And at this convention, Devir posted an update on, here are all of our games coming out in 2025. So they showed 6 games for next year. I'm very excited about them. So we're just going to read these blurbs and go through these ones kind of quick since there is 6 of them. But first one I'll take since it's the one I'm most pumped for. It's called Transgalactica. It's a game from Daniele Tascini, very famous designer. It's coming out in Q2 of 2025, and there's not a lot of details yet other than it has dual layered boards, which Devir does a lot. Love those. And that gold on the cover is going to be a gold foil print. That's just a cosmetic thing, but that was noted. So, all right, here's the blurb. The Galactic Senate has launched the Transgalactica Decree in order to increase their knowledge and influence beyond the already well-known fringes of the galaxy. Fleets from every planet have been launched to the stars in search of adventure, riches, and hopefully an influential seat in the governing spheres that lie beyond the known space. Transgalactica is a worker placement and engine building game. I love both of those mechanisms. With a high level of interaction between the players. In order to thrive in this game, you will travel the far reaches of the galaxy, improve your fleet's influence in all galactic matters, compete with other fleets for technological advancements, build a commercial network, and possibly even send representatives to the Galactic Senate to claim political advantages. The game is divided into 5 rounds. In each round, players use their captains to perform powerful actions in their own operations panel. Then the other players may follow, taking the same action using their crew, but without gaining a bonus. I also like follow actions in games, because then even when it's not your turn, you get to do something, so you're not bored between turns like that. Little by little, players will increase their military power, political influence, or technology level and earn victory points by exploring, trading, mining, or completing missions. May the best spacefarer win. Anyways, yeah, artwork on the box looks really cool. Done by, I think it's Edu Valls. I don't know if I'm reading that correctly on the image there, but yeah, very pumped for that one. Q2 2025. All right, a few more. Next is a smaller game. Reminds me of Blind Business, which I just got. It's a small card game. This one is called Fritos, designed by Jose Luchoro and Rafael Morales. Also coming out in Q2 2025. All right, Devin, I'm going to let you take this one away.
All right, this one looks amazing, by the way. Here we go. Set in the blind business universe, Fritos is a game for cooking lovers, where the playing area is a fryer. Players take control of various foods and try to survive at all costs, jumping from one side of the fryer basket to the other. When a player cannot move, they fall into the boiling oil, being fried and, unfortunately, eliminated from the game. You must use all the cards you collect to survive and not become deliciously battered. Fritos has 3 game modes: free-for-all, suitable for 2 to 6 players, the mode against the chef, a semi-cooperative version for groups of 3 to 7 players, in which one will be the chef and will try to fry the rest of the players, and team mode, in which 2 equal groups compete to win. Each game mode has a few different cards to tailor the experience. After assembling the central board with 9 cards, which represent spaces on the fryer grid, players begin their turns, which are divided in 2 phases, playing cards and moving. The first phase allows you to play as many cards as you want, with the aim of improving your position in the fryer or annoying and attacking your rivals. The second phase allows you to move 1 to 2 cards away. At that moment, the card you reached is revealed. Then either an effect is triggered or you can claim that card to use it later.
Yeah. Seems silly, like a little fast, quick card game, but I also like the art. It's the blind business game that I mentioned, that they also mentioned in the write-up, has similar artwork. It reminds me of Cuphead. Kind of that, like...
It reminds me of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, or Ren and Stimpy or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's super cool.
All right, next up is Ace of Spades from Benjamin Amarin. Comes out in June of 2025. Your path of vengeance has led you to Sweet Haven, Arizona. You know that the necromancer who has ruined your life has taken over the cemetery as his base of operations, and you are going to finish him off at all costs. You face Lord Killmister, a supernatural being, but your prowess as a gambler goes beyond sleight of hand. Channel your magic through poker plays to take out Lord Killmister's minions one by one and descend into hell itself to duel the monster who ruined your life. Ace of Spades is a single-player game or a 2-player game if you prefer to play it in co-op mode. It uses poker mechanisms to resolve dangerous duels against the worst spawns from hell. Kind of a weird artwork vibe there, but I kind of like it. And being obsessed with Balatro lately, I'm like 2 down for a game that uses poker hands. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be a fun one too. All right, next up, slightly bigger box than Ace of Spades and Fritos, I think. This one's called Red Carpet. And I'm going to butcher these names, but designed by Eloy Puyades, Ana Lucchini, and Pau More. And it is releasing next, which is probably like August, at Gen Con 2025.
I'm glad you read those names because I was going to skip that line. But here's the gist of the game. Here we go. The stars shine on the red carpet. Once again, the Academy Awards ceremony is held, and as a photographer, you have the goal of capturing the best portraits of the most famous figures from the golden age of Hollywood. Get a good spot, find the perfect angle, and take the photos that will be on the front pages of all newspapers tomorrow. In Red Carpet, you play as a photographer who seeks to capture the best portraits of the celebrities who arrive in limousines and parade down the red carpet to the awards gala. You'll move your cell phone camera sideways, adjusting angles and calling out to celebrities to get the best shots, which will reward you with more points. You'll also influence the awards by voting for your favorite nominees in each category. As the night progresses, the tension will build until the crucial moment of the awards ceremony, when the value of the winner's portraits will double. Whoever has the most points after 5 rounds will be hailed as the best photographer. Prepare your camera and shoot at the right moment. I don't know how that one sounds to me. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. There's so little. There's not even another picture. So I don't know how it's even going to play. Are you going to like move around a board to try and get close? Or is it a card game and like the values on the numbers dictate if you're close to a person to take a picture? We almost know nothing about how the game plays at that moment. But anyways, that's Red Carpet. Okay, next up, this is Covenant. Was designed by German P. Milan, I think. Milan. He designed Bamboo, which is one of their games I have right there on the edge of my screen. Also from Devir. This one comes out in about a year. at SPIEL Essen 2025. The Dwarven King has issued an order to the houses of each clan. It is imperative to reclaim Karak-Kum Khazar, the sacred mountain, ancestral home of the dwarves since the first age of the beard. For too long it has been occupied by the poison of the Dark Lords, with their creatures defiling the halls that once housed the noblest of all dwarves. The insult cannot last any longer. The dwarves must return to the mountain. Covenant is played in turns over 3 ages. During their turn, players will assign the dwarves of their clan to different tasks that will allow them to explore the ancient halls of their ancestors and drive out their enemies while rebuilding their ancestral home. Your dwarf tokens and tools will allow you to do all kinds of actions: dig in the mountain, defeat the enemies that live there, and build all kinds of buildings that will bring the legendary dwarf city back to life. At the end of the game, the clan that has accumulated the most glory will take the recognition of the monarch and the victory. That one's probably my second most anticipated of the bunch, just because of the designer. They said that this title might not be final, so Covenant might not be the name when it comes out, but anyways, that one's about a year out. And then last up is a little bit simpler of a game. It's a drafting game called Quorum, designed by Raul Franco Jimenez and Fran Martinez Rosa, and it comes out in the first quarter of 2025.
All right, and here is the description. The Roman Empire has spread over all the known world. Its civilization has expanded and is influential in all aspects of life, from trade and architecture to the power of its army and its political intrigues. The presence of the gods is made clear in the events of human lives. In Quorum, the players take on the role of Roman senators who share the power of Rome and its provinces with the aim of acquiring the greatest amounts of influence possible. The goal is to be the most powerful and influential senator by gaining victory points, which are awarded in various areas of influence over the 12 rounds of the game. On their turn, players take and play a card in front of them to affect one of the provinces. The turns continue in this way until all players have 12 cards in front of them. At the end of the game, the combination of cards played and the influence accumulated in each of the provinces will award players victory points, which will then decide who wins. Huh.
Seems like a pretty simple game where I think you're drafting cards, basically, which means play one and then pass your hand. And it looks like you do that over, 12 cards, so you're not going to have very many in front of you at the end. So probably a smaller box game. There was one other picture of it, but it wasn't here on the game page. It was somewhere else. It has kind of this cool star-shaped board. So I don't know. It could be a good one. All right, those were the 6 that I wanted to call out. They also mentioned that they are expanding their travel size line, and they did have a small tease in quarter 3 of next year. I don't know if it's a sequel or an expansion for one of their more popular games right now called Cities is coming out from the same 2 designers, Phil Walker Harding and Steve Finn, and that will be called Cities USA. So that'll be cool. I just got Cities. I think it's right behind me somewhere. Anyways, all right. That was the board game announcement barrage there at the beginning. Okay, a few other small things here. Red Dead Redemption is coming to PC on October 29th, along with the Undead Nightmare expansion. I have never played this first one. I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was exceptional. Almost too big for me, and man, is it long. I bet I played that game for like 70 or 80 hours before I finished it, and I didn't even do a ton of side stuff. I did some, but definitely not even close to like half. This one I think is a lot smaller and is actually the story as it continues after the second game. So, anyways, with John Marston, I think is his name. He is a character in the first one as well. Or excuse me, in the second one as well. So October 29th, it has all the PC fixings, 4K and ultra wide and all those things. So I'll look forward to that if you like that game. Next up is one that I thought was really cool, just because this property is important to me. But there was an announcement made from Paramount Pictures and Saber Interactive that they are working together with Avatar Studios, which is a company I think that was formed by the two people that created the Avatar: The Last Airbender TV show. That they are working together on a AAA Avatar: The Last Airbender game. Not a lot of details other than they said they're working on it, and quote, "It'll put players in the role of an all-new, never-before-seen Avatar and take place thousands of years in the past." End quote. I'm pretty pumped for that. I think Avatar and The Legend of Korra they're very excellent. And I think that I didn't even watch them until I was an adult. They definitely, with the art style, kind of get like it looks like it would lean more towards kids, and I think it kind of does. But the story it's just really awesome. It's a great, great show. So recommend that, and hopefully the video game will be good, because there's been a couple Avatar and Legend of Korra video games that have been absolutely awful. So a big one from a pretty well-known publisher in Saber. Hopefully it will be good. All right, next up, Devin, I'm going to have you read this post. Alien Isolation came out 10 years ago, I think this week, which was kind of cool. And this
amazing.
Was kind of a thank you to fans that they wrote here.
All right. To our fans around the world, it's hard to believe that it has been 10 years since we embarked on our journey with the release of Alien Isolation. We started developing Alien Isolation when we had one guiding principle: to create a truly authentic experience that went back to the roots of the Alien franchise, a new story capturing the atmosphere and terror of the original 1979 movie masterpiece. It's been nothing short of incredible to witness your passion for the game over the years and see it reach so many players around the world. Your boundless enthusiasm, excitement, screams, and steely courage in the face of cinema's greatest killer have been profoundly rewarding. Whether you're a nightmare mode veteran or stepping into Amanda Ripley's shoes for that thrilling first attempt, good luck. We wanted to express our deep gratitude. It was a dream project brought to life by a brilliant team, and the reception you have given it over the years is extraordinary. On the 10th anniversary, it seems only fitting to let you know that we have heard your distress calls loud and clear. Today, I'm delighted to confirm on behalf of the team that a sequel to Alien Isolation is in early development. Let's go. We look forward to sharing more details with you when we're ready. Once again, thank you. Until next time. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, kind of cool. I saw this post and I was like, oh, it's just like a thank you thing. And then everybody on Twitter was like, holy cow. So yeah, I think that's really awesome. A long time kind of coming, but I feel like that game has had a very slow burn where I feel like it was pretty well liked at launch, but I feel like it's just continued to have more and more people play, where a lot of games kind of have their audience taper off. I feel like its audiences for some reason just gotten bigger. So very, very cool. I think that horror game is excellent. It was almost too scary for me. That alien and his intelligence, moving around the ship, he's hard to plan for a bit. He'll hop in the ceiling and then he doesn't follow the same path all the time and stuff. Very cool idea, but I thought that was cool. Cool call out there. I hope that the sequel will be good. And the next up, last little announcement here is a weird one. This is a new piece of Nintendo hardware called Alarmo, and it's an alarm clock, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Comes out in early 2025, and they have a couple videos about the thing, but basically, when you set your alarm time, you get to choose out of, I think they said it'll ship with 5 of these special alarm scenarios, but they're going to send new updates for free to it over time. And so your alarm will start going off, and maybe that alarm is, what was an example they gave? Some music from Super Mario Galaxy. And so it'll start to play a little bit louder and louder, and then it has I don't know what kind of technology it is, but motion sensing in the front. So it's kind of similar to a Google Home. Mine has that sleep sensing ability in it too. But if you start to move, then it will trigger some other sound to like reinforce that you should get up. In the Mario one, it's like a coin, like ba-ching, ba-ching, ba-ching. And I guess that's supposed to help like encourage you to get up. And there are 5 or 6 different ones, and it'll track your sleep patterns and things like that. Very weird, but kind of a fun little strange dorky device if you want to spend $100 on a Nintendo alarm clock.
It's kind of cool, but I have one complaint. The screen is rectangle, but the unit itself is circle. I'm so surprised they didn't fill out the entire black area with screen.
Yeah, that would look a lot cooler if the whole circle was screen there.
Yeah, or they just made it a little rectangle. The exact same thing, but just shaped it to the screen. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's a dumb, petty complaint. I'm sorry. It might be super cool. I don't know.
No. It's very weird. But Nintendo wanted to release this, I guess, before the Switch too, which is kind of funny to me. But there you go. If you want an Alarmo, is what it's called. I think you can pre-order one now, but you can only pre-order them right now if you are a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber. And then later, they will be available to buy for non-Switch Online subscribers. So anyways, that is that.
Awesome.
Okay, that is all of the video game announcements, Devin, and I can see that I forgot to put a couple of things here in the next section, which are new games to subscription services. So if I could get you to just really quickly Google PlayStation blog, and they should have a post up just today about the new games that are joining the extra tier.
Yep, got it right here.
For some reason forgot to add those. Cool. All right, so yeah, PlayStation announced the games coming to the extra and premium tiers. They should be launching on Tuesday, I think. Devin, if you click into that post there, we should be able to see what they all are. It looks like the headliner is Dead Island 2, which is cool. I think that came out just a couple years ago and was supposed to be pretty good. Then Grease, Ghostbusters, that Return to Monkey Island, The Devil in Me, and 2 Point Campus seem to be the 6 they're showcasing. But let's scroll down and we should be able to see the full list here. So yeah, Dead Island 2 is the first one, and then 2 Point Campus on PS4 and PS5. A Dark Pictures Anthology, Devil in Me. Did you play that one, Devin?
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, is there one that I missed? Or did I just forget that I played this? I don't know.
It says it's the 4th one in the series and the season 1 finale. So that might be the one. That might be one you haven't played. That'd be crazy. I'm not a huge fan of those. I thought Until Dawn was like okay, but
yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then
it's a good game to stream.
Yeah, it probably would be.
Everyone's like, "Oh, make this decision," or "You suck. You killed all the characters."
Right. Yep. Yep. Totally. Gree is a very very pretty artsy indie game. The company that made it, their new game is called Neva, and I think it comes out within a month, I believe. So makes sense that this would be on there right now. Yeah, Return to Monkey Island on PS5. And Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. It's a multiplayer game, it looks like. Then Firefighting Simulator The Squad. Haven't heard of that one, but there you go. If you want to get together in a firefighting squad. Overpass 2. Looks like kind of a off-road ATV side-by-side racing game or something. Tour de France 2023. And Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. Can't remember which, but one of those Ghost Recon games is supposed to be pretty good. Okay, then on the premium tier, they have a PSVR 2 game and a couple classics. The Lost Clockwinder is the PSVR 2 game. It looks like you are like building assembly lines and contraptions. I've never actually heard of that one, but Free is good. And then Dino Crisis for PS4 and PS5. I've never played a Dino Crisis game, but I think it's kind of like Turok, if I remember correctly, where you have to shoot the dinos. But we'll see. And then Siren, which I believe is also a horror series. Kind of similar to like Silent Hill or something. The team that made Silent Hill maybe made Siren after they made Silent Hill. Let's see. Team Silent is now defunct team that made Silent Hill. Maybe not. Siren game series. They were published by Sony Computer Entertainment and developed by Project Siren. I don't know. Anyway, some kind of horror game where you're holding the camera. All right, and then one more, it looks like. R-Type Dimensions EX. I think R-Type is a, what are they called? Like a shmup. A side-scrolling one, I believe. Basically, you're in an airplane shooting bullets, Galaga style. But I think it's horizontal instead of vertical. All right, that is all of the games on Extra and Premium. Okay, we talked about the Game Pass games last week, but there was one little weird perk here. I guess it sounds like the deal might only be available in America, but if you have Game Pass, you can get 2 kind of spooky Halloween movies for free, and they are Saw and The Devil's Rejects. I think that first Saw movie is not excellent, but great. I think it's really good. I think after that they get ridiculous and it becomes something else entirely. But I think the first one is like a good, like, crime thriller. A little bit gory, but man, the ones after that are just ridiculous. I've never seen The Devil's Reject, so I don't know anything about that one.
I think it's a Rob Zombie movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that deal may or may not be available to you, but seems like that is a thing. And then last up, Devin, I actually forgot to add the Epic Game Store link as well. So if you could just go to the Epic Game Store, that'd be great. The 2 games that are free this week are Empyrean, Galactic Survival, and Outliver? Tribulation. I don't even know how you pronounce that word, but they look a little bit odd, to be honest. Let me see if I can.
Here we are, yes. And Bear and Breakfast.
Yeah, that was the one that was free last week. It'll only be free
right.
for a couple more hours. Yeah, those other 2, I'm not exactly sure what they are. Empyrean Galactic Survival. It's a true space sandbox survival adventure that uniquely combines elements from space simulations, construction games, survival games, and first-person shooters. That's a lot of things. I don't know. It might be kind of fun. They don't have a video, which is surprising. It's just a couple of images. But anyways, add that one to your library, totally for free. And then how would you pronounce that? Outliver? Outliver? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Outliver.
Tribulation. For a second, it looked like Lara Croft. For a second, it looked like it was trying to be Remnant with the dodging and stuff.
I was going to say it looked just like Remnant gameplay. Yeah. That's funny.
I'm curious. I want to see when it came out. Scroll down just a little bit, Devin. July of 2023. Interesting. I don't think I have ever heard of this game, so can't imagine it's incredible, but I don't know. Maybe you'll be surprised. Add it to your library as well. Again, free is good. So if you want to play it 50 years from now, then I guess you'll be able to, as long as Epic isn't out of business. But anyways. Okay, those are the free games on the Epic Game Store. Just going to check one more thing here. Yeah, okay, don't see that. All right, so that is it for games new to subscription services. I still haven't seen Amazon Prime's October update, which is kind of surprising. Maybe it's just going to be later in the month. Is it Rings of Power or something? I don't know what's going on. All right, Devin, in games we're playing, my segment here is going to be very short. I didn't get to play very much of anything. I dabbled in UFO 50 some more, but they were the same games that we went over last week, so I won't even really pull those up. And then I played a lot more Balatro on my iPad, which is a very fun place to play it because it's a little bigger than your phone. And yeah, it's so good. Balatro is amazing. Just can't recommend it enough. We said it every week for like ever. But if you love card games that you can like improve at, and that there's a lot of secrets that are fun to uncover, and if you like games that are run based, like something like Slay the Spire or Spelunky, where you're going on a run trying to do as good as you can, and eventually you're probably going to fail, and then you'll start over. That's what this is. But you uncover so many different things. There's lots of different starting decks, and they all have different perks. And then there's different jokers that randomly come up in the shop, and they have different perks. Balatro is amazing. I won another run this week. It was a good feeling. I still haven't gotten a hand into the millions of points, but I've gotten hundreds of thousands. So, yeah, Balatro on Apple Arcade. It's also on PlayStation and Switch and Steam. It's probably on Xbox as well. Just play it. It's so good. So that's my full update though. That's all I was able to play this week. Devin, you're gonna make me look like a noob here.
I'm gonna make you look disciplined and like hardworking. And I played a lot. I played some video games. So I don't think we finished Dead Space yet, the remake, but as you can see here, we have a cool outfit from our first playthrough. We've beat the game before. I think we talked about it last week. I don't need to go too in depth here, but the game's fantastic, beautiful, fun combat, scary, very dark. You're in space. It's been remade to run on the superior console. So fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Xbox is still cool, okay? Whatever. Don't come at me.
It's free this month. Okay, play it if you have a PlayStation. It's totally free. Well, if you have PlayStation Plus Essential, which most people do.
Second game I played. Weird game, but fun. I played a game called Chained Together with some friends, with my good friend Caleb, and we got my friend Christian in there eventually. Basically, you're stuck together by chains. The game's impossible, tries to knock you down using gravity over and over and over. And it's absolutely just chaos, and you laugh the whole time you play. It's like $5. And it honestly looks good for $5. Really does. It plays pretty decent. Luckily, I got high frame rate and a nice mouse pad. I was able to keep my character relatively straight, but but there's connection issues. So if one person's like slightly lagging or something, all of a sudden they're just off the edge and you're trying to reel them back in. There's a mechanic where you can like pull the chain of the guy you're connected to. You can have up to 4 people. You can choose to do a closed chain or an open chain. Open would be like a line of 4 people. Closed, it would be like a square maybe of 4 people.
That's even way harder.
You've got like 7 feet between you, maybe 6, 7 feet. So you got to coordinate your jumps. You got to be on a Discord call, that type of thing. We didn't get very far, but honestly, the game's funny. I recommend trying it, especially for $5. Fantastic time with your friends. See, I messed up right there and got hit by a spike, but ridiculous game, honestly. Super funny. I don't really have anything else to say about it, honestly. What do you think about it? The only thing it
made me think was that I need to make a game and sell it for $5.
Yeah.
Just learn Unreal Engine or something, or I don't even know, Unity. I don't know. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, it's true. All right, the last game I played and the most exciting and something I've been anticipating and talking about for weeks on this podcast was, you already know, Silent Hill 2 Remake. Oh, where do I start with this game? It's beautiful.
Crazy
very
fog.
Pretty game. Mm-hmm. Say that again.
Crazy fog. I feel like the fog's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's foggy in a lot of areas. It's crazy. I don't think the game offers too much as far as like weapons, but right now, at this point in the game, I had a stick or like a plank with nails in it. And eventually we got a pistol and a shotgun. There are not, as far as I can tell, upgrade screens or like character building at all. It's more just story based and solving puzzles, that type of thing. This game introduced something super cool, in my opinion, which was multiple difficulty settings. You have your difficulty with combat. You also had a puzzle difficulty setting. So if you're good at puzzles, you might want to ramp that up so that it's not so easy for you to just blast through puzzles. You know, the puzzles we were doing made absolutely no sense. It was like reading Shakespeare to try to get the answer. But the game's hilarious, honestly. It's very Resident Evil reskin in a way. It's you're low on ammo, you feel weak, you feel slow. Third person. The enemies throw weird attacks at you that are hard to dodge. There's obviously a built-in input lag system that's supposed to make the aiming more difficult. There's cursor sway. But that's how the game's supposed to be. If they made this like Call of Duty where aiming was so simple and quick flicks, I mean, it wouldn't even be fun. So it's super suspenseful, very dark, an amazing map system. For every area you go in, you open a real looking map in your hands, and it updates every time you touch a door. It'll say that door was locked. Everything you do is updated on the map without you having to click into something. You have like the open world map of a city, and then you walked into an apartment building, for example, and there was a map on the wall, and it had a map for floor 1, level 2, and level 3. And we spent like 3 hours in the apartment building trying to search every room and find every puzzle. And the game's fantastic. I can't wait to play it tomorrow, honestly. The platinum trophy requirements are absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. But
are they? Do you have to beat it multiple times?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's like 6 endings from what I hear.
You have to get them all?
You've got to do a new game plus. You got to do every ending. So you're going to have to like back up your save if you want to do it towards the end or something. And then, just easy to miss things. A new game plus playthrough has to be done. There was a lot of trophies, but I mean, games are expensive now. This was $75 after tax.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. But I mean, think of the work it takes to make these games, and the hours I'll put into this. Let's say I put 50 hours in. I just spent $1.20 an hour.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, it's really not. But it is sticker shock when you pay for it, though. I get it.
Oh, my goodness. I almost quit streaming last night. Nah, I'm good. But
couple questions.
It's super
Devin.
fun. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you played Silent Hill 2, the original?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. I haven't either. I think I've played maybe an hour of the first one. I think like our uncle had it and it was at grandma's sometimes on the original PlayStation. I think Silent Hill 2 was a PlayStation 2 game. It's pretty widely considered one of the best psychological horror games ever. And so I was curious if you feel like it's living up to that, if how you think the story is the story really weird? I feel like a lot of psychological horror has really weird stories of like things don't make sense. You can't tell if a character is like really something's happening to them or if they're imagining it.
I mean, you're hitting it spot on. That's exactly how I feel with the story right now, is that I really don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But it's, in my opinion, it's living up to a ton of content. A lot of difficulty levels, a beautiful game, a horror game, which I love. Pretty next gen mechanics in different ways. Some of the mechanics are a little more old school, and you can tell that they are. They still have that Resident Evil flip a 180 on command type movements, and it's funny. I don't use it too often, but sometimes there's a lot of notes laying around, just a lot of lore A lot of things to read that don't do anything, but then you find a piece of lore that does do something. So you're like, maybe I need to read every piece of lore. What else to say about the game? It's
also, you're still pretty early, so that makes sense if you don't know everything. I was just mainly curious.
Yeah, I really love it though. I really, really do. I would be more than willing to go for a platinum trophy on this, and it's just a good difficulty level. It's spooky. I screamed many times today playing this, and that's what I wanted.
That's a good sign. Yeah. The one thing that I would say, I think the game looks very pretty. I think it looks fun. I think I'll probably try it. I hope that the two things that I would hope as you continue is that even if the story seems wonky and you're not sure like what things are real or not, I hope that it eventually comes to like some point where you're like, okay, I think I get it now. And instead of staying like too obtuse, which some movies and games in this genre do. And the other thing, I hope that there is a bigger variety of enemies. I feel like it's a lot of the same enemies over and over. But
that would be my biggest complaint about this game is slight repetition.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh man, do I want to go explore this entire next area where I'm just going to be scrounging for just a couple bullets, having a hard time opening new areas and shooting the same enemy for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
But
it does
for me, it's been fun, but it is repetitive.
Yeah. I hope that changes a little bit. It does seem like they slowly like introduce like, hey, here's a new weapon. So hopefully it feels a little different, the next couple hours, and hopefully that'll continue to have new things. Is that right? Like you didn't have the gun for a minute? Or something.
For quite a while.
Okay. So hopefully there continues to be more. I feel like you just got a shotgun as well, right?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I would say the strongest point of this game is the puzzles. Put the puzzles on hard. Like, force yourself to try to understand a puzzle that's not simply solved in 2 minutes. That's fun, in my opinion.
Oh, I love puzzles, so I'm too down for that. Yeah, my game when I play it will be on hard for puzzles and probably just normal for combat.
I think that's a good balance, honestly.
It does, just watching you play and seeing like how much health you lose when any of those enemies touch you. It seems a little tough.
I like to torture myself on these games for some odd reason.
There's probably a trophy tied to finishing it on hard, I would imagine. Maybe not,
I don't think there was, bro. Sadly,
really?
That's why I did it. I was like, they're going to force me to play it on the hardest difficulty. So without looking, I did so.
And they won't let you change it mid playthrough. Probably.
Exactly.
That's funny. Well, you're stuck. So hopefully you don't get a bad first impression of the game when you hit some very crazy difficulty spikes.
I'm really loving it. But that is the last video game I have been playing. Besides Clash Royale, brand new season.
All right.
Destroyed the Battle Pass in 2 days. Embarrassing, but there's a cool Frankenstein card that just came out. Cool tower skins. They've changed the Battle Pass system. There's a new evolution for the Electro Dragon. His electricity can chain endlessly between two enemies, that type of thing. But other than that, no, I really haven't been gaming too much. Well, yes, I have. I just explained 4 games I've been playing nonstop. So
yeah, I was going to say, you've been playing quite a bit. I just had one of those weeks where I wasn't able to get a lot of video games or board games played, which we'll see in just a second. Just busy. But yeah, I think that was great. As far as board games are concerned, I only have one. I played another couple of matches of Altered on Board Game Arena. This is that collectible card game. You can buy, I think there are 6 starter decks, and then there's obviously boosters, and you can get like holographic foil versions of cards and uncommons and stuff like that. And you build a deck, and then you play one player against another. I think the game play system in this game is really good. I think it's fun. I think the main differences are there. Instead of it being a 3-lane battler, it's a 2-lane battler. So you have like basically a left and a right side. But on each lane, there are 3 different, what would you call them? Like values you're tracking. There's a green, an orange, and a blue. And so you need to be aware of who is winning each of those 3 values on each of the 2 lanes. And it's important. It's a little hard to explain. There's 2 pawns on the right and left of this track in the middle, and the first player to get their pawns together wins. And in order to move your pawn, there's some requirement on that track. Like, hey, if you want to move the pawn to the next piece, you need to win this lane and win it in, and it will list 1 or 2 of those 3 scoring categories. You might need to win in the blue or the green track. And if you did win that lane with a higher value in that track, then you get to move your piece forward. And so it's kind of unique in that way, where you can be at different spots in the track, just in like that image there, where the player on the far side, their piece is on kind of the orange mountainous looking region in the middle, and the player on our side, their pawn is 1 to the right. So they're trying to win different values there to move forward into the next spot, because they're not on the same ones. I didn't explain that very well, but there's 3 different current scoring values you're keeping track of on each lane, which is a cool mechanism. And then other than that, after each round, or hand, I guess you would call it, where you've played your cards out, you're out of, what do they call it, mana, like action points, and so the round is over. Then whoever did win and meets those requirements gets to move their pawns, and then your cards get bumped down to this middle section called like the bench. It's not called the bench, I forget what it's called. So your cards don't just go like to the lanes and then discarded. They're to the lanes and then to this bench area in the middle, and they can be redeployed from the bench. But every card you play has this is a good image, Devin, here. At the top left of the card, it has 2 different costs. The top one is the cost in mana to play it to the lane from your hand, and then the value right under it is the mana to play it to the lane from the bench. So they have different costs, and you can it's a little hard to explain just in words, but there's ways that you can move cards around. Maybe this card's really expensive to play for my hand, but it's not very expensive to play it for my bench. But if I had a different card that would let me play something straight to my bench, so it doesn't have to go to a lane first, then that's cool. Get to pull that off. So because of that cycling of, basically a card can be played up to twice before it's in the discard pile. It would go to a lane, to the bench, and then potentially back to a lane. And then after it goes to a lane from the bench, it gets this expired token put on it, so it doesn't go back to the bench again, and then it would be discarded. So since a card can be played twice, it's this weird kind of push-pull of, okay, I know you just played that, it's going to be in your bench, how do I stop you from hurting me with that card you just hurt me with? I really like it, it's fun. I don't know how well the game is doing. I think there's a lot of kind of unproven things with the game, is it a sustainable model, or do people care about the world? I think the artwork it looks good, but I don't have a tie to the characters at this point. They're just kind of some, I don't know, fantasy looking. They look like Overwatch dudes, kind of, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think the gameplay is really fun, so I played it a couple more times on Board Game Arena. I don't know at this point that I will buy the game, but if it continues to do well, and it seems like it's going to be around for years and years and years, then I might hop in and buy it physically, because I think it's a fun system. Mainly because of that bench, where after a card's played, you have a chance to play it again instead of it being discarded immediately. But that's the only board game for me. Devin, any surprise board games?
I don't think so.
Okay. No worries. All right, Devin, what are you most looking forward to playing in the next week or two?
Ooh, I would this podcast opened my eyes to Siren. I'm going to take a gander at it because I'm always looking for scary things to play in October. So I will look at that.
Probably some more Silent Hill. I'm pumped to finish that.
Yeah, I'm going to grind Silent Hill to death.
Cool. I'm excited to try it too. So I'm going to try that one as well. Keep playing Balatro. I want to play some more of UFO 50. And other than that, as far as video games are concerned, I'm probably most excited for a couple Nintendo games. I want to still play that Zelda game that came out a couple of weeks ago. I think Mario and Luigi Brotherhood comes out fairly soon. So anyways, that's kind of what's most on my mind. For board games, I wanted to have this segment here today, Devin. We're going to do this really fast, but I thought it would be kind of fun. And I need some help from anyone listening or that sees this video on YouTube. I need a way to ensure that I play more of the games I get. I don't know if it might just be that I need more sheer will and determination. But I just wanted to list, these are all of the games that I either got recently or are delivering very soon that I haven't played yet. And so I'm kind of paralyzed for choice at the moment, and I don't know what order should I play them in, and I'm in my own head a little bit. I have too many that I'm excited about, so I'm not excited about any of them. I don't know, it's driving me nuts. But so we're going to go through these really fast, Devin, because there's 30, and so we're obviously not going to spend very much time on them. But first up, in a package delivering tomorrow, I'm very pumped for this one. This is one of the hottest games in the world right now. It's The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. This is kind of a reskin of Seven Wonders Duel. It's a card game where one player plays as kind of the Fellowship, and one person plays as the Agents of Sauron, I believe. And you're basically taking cards from this pyramid, and the cards that you take let you do certain things. And eventually the Black Rider can catch up to Frodo. And if he does, then that player wins, or Frodo can make it to Mount Doom. And if he does, then that player wins. So there's 3 different win conditions, and you're all fighting over the 3, and you can't let the other player get too far ahead in any of them. Very pumped for that one, Devin. We're going to play it. It's going to be fun. In that same package tomorrow, there's 3 other games coming. One is Harmonies. This was a very popular game a few months ago. You're trying to build this cool little kind of grid of different types of land to get these animals to come stay in your habitat. It's kind of an abstract game in that way. You're taking these pieces kind of in Azul style from the center board and putting them on your board to get animal cards. Very cute, colorful artwork. Next is Through the Desert, designed by the good Dr. Reiner Knizia.
Oh, my man.
This is a kind of an abstract game where you are building routes, I think, with your camels in order to have more control of the desert. It's supposed to be excellent. Again, haven't played it yet, but coming tomorrow. Also got Witchcraft, which is a solo-only card game where I think you're playing as the leader of this coven of witches, and you have to stop these monsters from taking over the town, but you also can't let the people in the town know too much about your witch power, or else they'll burn you at the stake. So it's supposed to be a really fun solo game. I'm excited to play that one. It has cool art
This one
style.
Looks cool to me.
Yeah, it does look cool. We could even try it together solo. That doesn't make sense, but you could play it together in that way. Okay, so those all deliver tomorrow. The next segment of games are all games I got in the last week. Basically, all of these were from the Prime Day sales. Because I think Prime Day for board games, for whatever reason, opened up a little early. So it was a week ago, and I was ordering these games. So this one is one that was on Devin's most anticipated list from last week. It says, Let's Go to Japan. I've got it already sleeved, got a 3D insert printed. It's in the box and just waiting to be played. Looks very cool. Has very big cards. Very excited for it. The next couple are pretty simple party games. One's called Medium. You're trying to say the same word as your teammate based on a prompt. Kind of reminds me of more interactive code names. Next up is called Just One. It's one of the most famous party games of the last decade. where you're trying to get one specific person you're playing with to guess a very specific word. Everyone else gives a clue, but if anyone gives the same clue, then both of those clues are discarded. So you have to give a unique clue. It's kind of the shtick. Next is Tiwanaku. This one, I'm pretty pumped for this one too. This is a deduction game. It has this really cool dial. You'll have to find the dial if you can, Devin. Basically, you're moving your character on this grid, trying to figure out what land type and crop type go in these different areas. And then you'll make a guess at different parts. This is the dial, yeah, here, Devin. And there's those two windows. And so you'll go to a spot and say, I think at this spot is this crop type or this type. And based on the row and the column you're in, you rotate that disc that you've put inside the dial. And then you'll open one of those windows and it will tell you what should be there. So it's a kind of a logic, but like a crossword puzzle made into a board game with this dial that knows all of the answers. Really cool. Wow. But excited to try that one. Spotlight is a brand new game. This one I got mostly to play with my kids, but it has this cool kind of board where you can't see everything. It has like this dark paper underneath it. But then you put this little flashlight paper underneath it that has a white segment. And so you can see everything in your flashlight segment. And you flip over a card. It says to like find as many of these as you can. And everyone has like 30 seconds to find as many as they can. And if you guess the right number, I think you win. Or you can also play it cooperatively or whatever. But cool little Where's Waldo like game there. Next is one called Quicksand. This is a cooperative game where you're flipping over sand timers. And together you're just trying to make sure none of your sand timers run out. So it'll be my turn, I'll play a card, and all the sand timers on an orange tile will flip and move to the next one. Or then it's Devin's turn, he plays a card with a square on it, and all of them on a square tile will move. And you win if you can get them all to the end of the track, past kind of that finish line thing, without any of them running out. So it's supposed to be kind of fun. Ancient Knowledge, I think you'll love this one, Devin. It's very much a card-based game with a big deck of unique cards. You have your own board, you put the cards on this top section of your board, and then eventually they will slide to the left, but they'll have a bunch of these knowledge tokens on them, and you have to get as many of them off as possible, because when they fall off your track, any knowledge that was on them will be a negative point for you at the end of the game. It's supposed to be an excellent card game. Next up, another one I got to play with the kids. This is there's a lot of games here, Devin. Is called Dive. You look down through these translucent boards, and you have to make a guess, like how many levels deep is that shark? And you're like, you have to make sure you don't mess up on the shark and the not a shark side of your discs. Then you can assign more points to ones you're more sure of in order to get a boost from the turtles and stuff. It's supposed to be a pretty fun, push your luck and depth perception game, literally, because it's a stack of like 30 translucent things you're looking through, as if you're looking down through the water. Again, kind of a kid's game there. But next is one called Monumental. Again, this is like a $70 game I got for like $14. Doesn't make any sense. I got the version without miniatures. It's just cardboard. But even so, it has like 300 cards in the game. In this game, you make a grid of 9 cards, and then you choose a column and a row from your 3x3 grid. You got to activate all 5 of those cards that are in the column and the row, and then they come out of your grid, and new cards from the top of your deck fill in the grid. So it's a deck building game where you're trying to get new cards into your deck, and then they'll refill your grid, and you activate the columns and rows. It's supposed to be fun. Next up, the one called Pendulum. This is from Stonemaier Games, who makes very pretty games. And this is a Euro game that has sand timers in it, which is very unique. And where you can put your workers is based on where the sand timers are. And there's 3 different sections that have like a 45-second or 2-minute or 3-minute sand timer. So you're trying to be efficient with like what actions you're doing. And you have to maybe wait for the purple one to be able to flip, but then you need to hurry and do this before the green one comes over. Kind of a weird game that, again, was just on an Uber sale, and I've wanted to try it for a while, so there it is. And then 2 more. Iki is a very pretty Japanese style game with this kind of shopping street in a rondel, which is a board game name for basically a track that goes in a circle, and you move along that track to the different shops, and you'll go around that rondel many times in the game. It's supposed to be excellent. And then last in this section is Empire's End, which is kind of like No Thanks, but you have a big empire you have to take care of, and you don't want any of the sections of your empire to be destroyed by calamity. So that was all the games I got last week. Freaking Prime Day. And then in the last couple of months, I've got probably 20 more here. We're just going to read these ones even faster, so that we're not here for too long. The main gist of this was just that I'm struggling to know what to play and need, I think, just some advice either from myself and my own mental capacities, or from anyone watching the video or listening. How would you tackle this problem? Besides probably, getting David away from the credit card, that would be helpful too. Anyways, the other games I've gotten in the last couple of months I haven't been able to play yet. Flip 7 is a fun little card game about, it's kind of like 21. On your turn, you either say hit me or you pass and are out of the round, and you can get more points, but if you bust, then you lose everything. Gnar, a very popular game from last year where you were trying to race to 40 points with these cool Viking cards, making a little stack of them in front of you. Bomb Busters, it's a brand new cooperative game where you're trying to defuse a bomb together, but you can't see the wires that are in front of the other players, and you don't want to cut the yellow and red ones. Cities, we talked about earlier, from Devir. It's a pretty simple drafting game where you're building your own little city in front of you with buildings on top of it. Gizmos is an engine building game that has this cool marble like station, and marbles come out of this little track out of the front. And so you can, when it's your turn to take a marble, you generally are only able to take them from those like 5 or 6 that you can see out the front of the marble randomizer. It's supposed to be a fun engine building game. Evacuation is from Vladimir Suki, one of my favorite designers. It's a big, complex game. Just haven't been able to play that one yet. It's about evacuating all of the people from a dying planet to a new one and kind of restarting life there. It was very popular last year. Nimalia, a small little card game that's supposed to be a fun little card laying game where you're overlapping cards in order to build like the best little animal, habitat. It's supposed to be very fun. Dabawala, kind of a polyomino game, but it has a second phase. Or I missed one, didn't I? I missed a whole bunch. I skipped up like 6.
You skipped like 6. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go back to Dabawala. Motor City is a roll and write game where you are, I think, managing different sections of a car manufacturing shop, and it's supposed to be great. I like roll and write games. Then we got 2 Vital Lacerda games, Kanban, which is one about kind of a similar theme to Motor City. You are a worker at a electric vehicle manufacturer. And then On Mars is one where you are trying to kind of populate Mars and get as many of the resources from Mars as possible. Those are very big, complex games, but I'm very pumped to play them. Then a couple smaller ones. We got Patterns. It's a 2-player abstract game. You're putting these little colored discs out on this grid, in different patterns in order to score more points than the person you're playing against. Then Nidavellir, it's mainly an auction game where you're playing out auction coins in order to win these cards, and the cards will get you points. But you can also play 2 cards down to your cauldron, and I believe that you get to add their totals together in order to take a new coin from the bank. So your coins are constantly getting better too for the auction. Now we're at Dabbawala, where you are stacking these different dabbas in the first phase on your little bicycle. And then in the second phase, I think you flip the board over and deliver them all at the different price values of the different colors of dabbas. We got Roll for the Galaxy, which is the dice version of Race for the Galaxy. I don't know a lot about that one, but it has cool dice and supposed to be really good. Dinosaur World, it's kind of like Jurassic Park, the board game. It is, I think, the 3rd or 4th in this series from Pandasaurus. But it's pretty cool. Your dinosaurs can like break out and eat people. And you have to take care of your park and make sure everything is running okay. Paris, the City of the Lights. I think that's what La Cité de la Lumière means. Not 100% sure. It's a 2-player game. You're trying to, kind of an abstract game. You're putting out tiles in order to control more of the street. And then you have a second phase where you put out tokens on top of those tiles. And you want to get yours next to the lanterns. Has a bit more to that. That was a simplified version. But A Fall of the Mountain King is a bigger meteor game where you're trying to I'm trying to remember if it's, I think you play as, what are you? I don't think you're dwarves, are you? Maybe you are. And you're trying to defeat all of these trolls that are like storming into your cave, but also do it better than everybody else. Havalandi from, again, The Good Doctor, Reiner Knizia, is a kind of an abstract excuse me, game about getting the most control and points over this kind of hot air balloon track here. I've been talking too long. My cough's coming out. Age of Innovation is a very big game. It's a sequel of sorts to Terra Mystica. You have your own race and type of people, and you're building out their civilization over the land. Pretty complex, but very, very well loved. Under Falling Skies is a solo game. It's kind of like Space Invaders, the dice game. You roll dice and you have to protect the world from these alien ships that are coming down from the top of the board. Supposed to be a great solo game. Teletum is a game from, I think, Board and Dice in their T series. I don't even know very much about this one. Well, at least how to play it. I know it's supposed to be a very, very good Euro, but haven't even read the rulebook here. That's how far behind I am. My Farm Shop is similar to Space Base and games like Dice Forge, where you're rolling a couple dice and you get to activate the sections that correlate with the number rolled. Search for Planet X is a deduction game where you're trying to find this planet X. Yeah, I don't even know exactly how the deduction works in that one, but you're deducing things on your little paper behind your shield there. A Railroad Revolution is kind of a bit meatier of a game than something like Ticket to Ride, but kind of similar vibe. You're building your railroad company from one side of the country to the other. Ganymede is an engine building game. Kind of some people that I've trust online say it is somewhat similar to Splendor in its ramp or engine building ramp. I like the sci-fi art in this one though. Pretty cool. And then last up, a solo game called Reckland Run, which is in Renegade Game Studios what do they call it? The solo hero series. So similar to Proving Grounds and what's that other one called? Warp's Edge. So I wanted to play that one too. Anyways, I meant for that to be a short exercise in me just kind of listing them all. But as far as what I'm most looking forward to in board games, I have too much to play. So I think the two final thoughts I have here, I'm going to try to not order any new games for the foreseeable future, which will be good. I have been trying to only get new ones when I have purged something so that I stay at somewhat of an even kind of dollar amount. But I think it is time that I play through the Shelf of Shame. So anyways, if anyone watching has any comments on how they have conquered their Shelf of Shame, I would love to hear about that. But that is going to end this segment so that I don't talk too much more about games I haven't played yet and feel bad about myself. All right. Now we're in the news, which is very short, so we'll be out of this section pretty quick. Quite a bit of news from Halo this week. They released kind of a video called A New Dawn. Halo Studios, I think is what it says there. Basically, 343 has been renamed Halo Studios. I think some of their leadership had already left after Halo Infinite. I think her name was Bonnie Hunt or something. I can't remember. I haven't played Halo in a while, but anyways, that was one of the main points, the renaming. The second one is Halo is changing engines. It will no longer be in 343's Slipstream engine. They're moving it to Unreal Engine. And so they have a couple clips in this video. I think one towards the end of the video, Devin, where they show Master Chief in Unreal Engine. It's just kind of a very short teaser, but that was one of their announcements here with the game change, is that they're moving to an engine that will make it easier for them to just focus on making good Halo games instead of having to focus also on building their own engine. The weird other third detail is a third-person mode is coming to Halo Infinite in November. And they have a little teaser here, and it says it's still a work in progress, but what a weird-looking thing.
Very strange, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably good for at least this to exist, I guess, so that Halo can continue to have a bigger audience. I love Halo. I think it has like a very unique feel when you're playing. A lot of the comments to this post though with this video were, "Yay, I'm so excited that Halo has become Fortnite." Because watching it in third person here, it does make it kind of look like that, which is weird. But anyways, Devin, before we talk just a little bit about these Halo details, how much experience do you have with Halo? Have you played any of the more recent ones?
I played quite a bit of Infinite for a while.
Okay. Did you play just multiplayer, or did you also play the campaign?
I think I did both, but I've done more multiplayer. I got pretty decent at that actually for a time. I was like, I understand the grenade sliding and jump strats of this game now, and the importance of headshots and that type of thing.
Yeah, Halo's multiplayer, man. I feel like it has been rock solid for decades, and like such a fun. Like even in the first ones where like there's not sprint, which is weird, but you just kind of like learn to get used to it. Like, okay, I know how fast my character can move, and I understand like the gravity level and how high I can jump, which is very high. At least in some of the maps and stuff. Yeah, fun multiplayer mode. Halo was like, man, it was the king for a while. I loved Halo 1, 2, and 3. And then I didn't mind the campaign of Halo 4. I thought it was good, actually. I know some people didn't, but I, at that point, was kind of beyond Halo multiplayer. I really just, well, we'll get to that point in a minute, but so I haven't played Halo 5 or was there 6 or did it just go 5 then Infinite? I can't remember.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah. I think the main reason is just because I haven't had an Xbox in so long, because Halo has been like the biggest bummer to me to miss out on. There are a lot of people online with Microsoft's recent changes and, you know, them putting games everywhere and on PlayStation, who think that this change to using Unreal Engine means that their next Halo games are going to be on PlayStation. I don't know. That could happen, but I feel like if Halo comes over, then I feel like that's kind of the sign of the end, because I feel like Halo would be their most like important and respected item. And so if they're going to send that one over, I feel like everything's coming. So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. I would love for it to be on PlayStation just because I want to play them.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But I do think them putting it on PlayStation just kind of really cements like their business model that like we don't have any games that are only on our platform, which is fine if that's what they want to be. They will probably make a crap ton of money doing it, so maybe that's for the best. But anyway, some weird Halo news. I think Unreal Engine 5 will be good for Halo. Halo has such a special place in like my early teenager heart. I hope that it can stay around and be relevant, because I feel like Halo Infinite had a little bit of a splash, but then it's kind of had some bad moments and some like a lot of fall off. Yeah, so I just hope that it doesn't just slowly diminish. But there's probably a lot of people my age who have the same thought, and if there's a good one, I think everyone will come running back. So anyways, anything else to say about Halo, Devin? Or I think that's kind of it.
No, super nostalgic for me as well. I've got very strange memories of playing Halo in very different places as a kid. So big fan. And I don't care if they're making this change. It might be amazing. I think we judge things too harshly before they release.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this could be a game changer. It's probably not going to be. Who knows? But, you know, you never know.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. It's the 10-year anniversary not only of Alien Isolation, but of DRIVECLUB just yesterday. And I just wanted to pour one out for DRIVECLUB, which is my favorite racing game I've ever played. I loved DRIVECLUB. I think it still has the best weather physics. I mean, I haven't played like a lot of racing games since this one. And it just, yeah, man, I loved this game. I thought it was so good. I really liked the main system that they had, other than it being very beautiful and like it's in that genre they call like simcade. So it's not a simulation like Gran Turismo. So it's a little more unrealistic than that. But they try to keep like the driving somewhat. It's not Need for Speed either. You're not drifting around every corner. It's like Project Gotham Racing. I think that's my favorite genre of racing game. Because if it's too realistic, like Gran Turismo, like I feel like you lose some of the fun. I don't know. Maybe if I got really into those with a wheel or something, then I could have just as much fun in those. But I like Simcade, Project Gotham, DRIVECLUB. And the system that they had were little mini challenges, like along the track. Like you'd pop into a mini challenge and it would be like, okay, this next corner, see how many drift points you can get. And here are your 3 friends that have played this race recently. Here's their drift scores. And if you beat them, then you'll get some experience or whatever. And then like, okay, on this next lap, try to get the fastest lap out of your friends. I love challenges like those in racing games, especially like little short ones like that. This game was made by, what was their name? Evolution Games. And yeah, I just love that philosophy in racing games. My second favorite racing game probably was one on the Vita and the PlayStation 3 called MotorStorm RC. It was that RC racing game from above. And I think I thought it was great. Really loved it. And it was kind of the precursor to this in that you could see like all of your friends' racing lines and their lap times and race against their ghosts, like just built into like the races you were already doing. And that feeling, I don't know, I love that in a racing game. Like, I feel like racing games feel stale if I don't see like some sort of like mini competitions like that. I don't know why. I really like those, like beat this lap, high score. And especially if it's people you know, like, because then it's like a fun little thing and you beat their challenge and you can, I don't know, it feels good for some reason. I love racing ghosts. So shout out to DRIVECLUB. I think I played this one way more than you, Devin. But did you have any experience with this one?
I think so, but I don't remember it well enough to have too much to say.
Yeah. The bummer
of
this
looks
game,
super cool.
Yeah, it's very pretty, even still. It's 10 years old. I mean, it looks amazing. The bummer of this game is that it launched and then was broken for almost a year. The online, those little challenges I was just talking about weren't working, and they couldn't figure out why. I don't know many more details than that, but and I don't think I even got it right at launch. I might have gotten it a little bit later. But once they fixed that, this game had probably the best post-launch content I've ever seen in a game. They had little expansion packs that were just free. Or at least I think they were free. Anyway, so much extra support. Or like, here's another like mini section of the career mode. We have 5 new cars, 2 new tracks, and then the reverse versions of the tracks. And here you go. And then the next month, here is another one with 5 new tracks, 10 new cars. And I think there were probably 20 of those packs. And then they released a whole new mode called DRIVECLUB Bikes. And it was motorcycles. And it's like a huge addition. That one wasn't free. I think it was like $20 or something. But it lets you race on every single track from DRIVECLUB with the motorcycles. And I think you can even mix motorcycles and cars maybe. It was like a very fleshed out version. And then they had a PlayStation VR version. I think at one point, because of all of those extra expansions, DRIVECLUB had more trophies and trophy points earnable in their game than any other game ever, just because they supported it so well after that. So such a bummer to me that Evolution, the team that made this game, and MotorStorm RC, 2 of my very favorite racing games ever, back to back, they were shut down after this game, just because it was busted for a while, and I'm guessing that led to it not selling as well as it could have. Man, I would have killed for a DRIVECLUB 2 or something else made by them on the PlayStation 5, because that's some good stuff. Love DRIVECLUB. Anyways, just wanted to give it a shout out on its 10th anniversary. A little note here, if you ever want to play LittleBigPlanet 3 again, for some reason Sony continues to have like problems with LittleBigPlanet servers. I think they get hacked through them or something, and so the game will be like offline for a while. I don't really know. So they've decided that the game is going to be pulled off of the PlayStation Store. So it will no longer be purchasable along with any of the DLC content for the game. I think it came out like 10 years ago or something. So you have until October 31st to purchase it. If you have it in your library, you can still play it. It just will no longer be purchasable on the store. Which is the same for DRIVECLUB, actually. It has been removed. You cannot buy it on the store, which is a bummer. Okay, that is all the video game news this week. The Halo thing was the really the biggest one. There were a couple other little things like Ubisoft is talking about maybe being purchased and stuff, but we'll cover that another day if it happens. All right, in board game news, I don't even have a link for this one, Devin, but we talked about the Essen SPIEL convention that just ended over the weekend. It sold out for the first time in its 41-year history. I don't think that means it's the biggest number of people that have ever been. I think the article I read said that post-COVID, there were just more people trying to buy tickets than there were tickets. So they sold out. It had 204,000 attendees at that convention in Germany. That's a lot of people to be in one place. Kind of nuts. I was seeing a lot of posts from board game companies. They're like, hey, we brought our new game here. We were really excited to launch it. And we brought 3,000 copies with us. And they're all sold out. I'm just like, wow. But I guess it makes sense with that many people there that those new games are going fast. And now it makes more sense to me why that convention is such a big deal for these publishers. They go to it and they can get, 5,000 copies of their game sold, and it's like the initial launch of that game. So then like you sell the game, all these people are excited about it. I got this thing that nobody's played before and it just barely launched, and then there's a lot of buzz about it on Board Game Geek and it might help their sales. So anyways, cool thing. I hope that the board game community continues to grow, because I just think it's such a wonderful hobby. All right, Devin, that's going to bring us to crowdfunding corner for this week. It's October 9th today, but I think this will go up on the what is time? The 11th of October. First up this week is a game called LA1, a cyber noir detective board game. It's from the creator of Arkham Horror, which I think is why the game's getting a bit of buzz. And it kind of reminds me of a game called Chronicles of Crime. But in Chronicles of Crime, you kind of use an app and you punch into the app like, okay, we're going to this location now. We're going to interrogate this person. And then it even has some like virtual reality segments where like you look through a room to look for clues and stuff. This is a similar feel, in my opinion, but in more of a cyberpunk world. But it looks like each player has their own player on this board. And so instead of you kind of making decisions together, I think you'll be moving separately, taking actions at the location that you're at, looking for clues in order to solve these cases and go through this big story. Has this humongous deck of cards. I think just there it said over 400 story cards. And so different events will tell you like, go read this card, and then it'll pop up or whatever. I'm a little iffy on story-based games, but if it's the right group and they're simple enough usually, then I think they can be an okay time. So if you like games like that, Chronicles of Crime, then this might be one that you want to look at. Again, sorry for the train, it's blaring its horn. But that is LA1, a cyber noir detective board game. It's on Kickstarter until the 16th. Next up is a couple of dungeon crawl games, which are usually not my cup of tea. I've yet to play one that I've loved. I think it's just generally because if I'm going to play a game like that where I'm just moving to the next spot and then smack, punch a monster, I'd rather play a video game. I think that's why for me. But anyways, this one's called Deliverance, Council of the Fallen. It's a reprint of the game that must have come out a few years ago, and an expansion. I think that expansion is called Council of the Fallen, so the game is called Deliverance. And like I said, this is a dungeon kind of crawl game where you're moving along this map and fighting these different monsters. I think the unique thing about this game is the way that you build out your character. You choose from like a bunch of different cards, and I think they say, you choose your angel here, and then you can choose a bunch of ability cards, and they say there's like hundreds of different combinations of abilities that you can select for your characters. So that's supposed to be where the variability is that, okay, I'm playing a different build basically of this character this time. So hopefully that would give it some, freshness from game to game. But then, other than that, it looks like you're going through fighting monsters, and I think you're trying to save souls or something from these monsters. And there's probably like some bosses at the end of the scenarios, which is a common thing in dungeon crawling games. So that one's Deliverance. If you've played the original and liked it, then you might want to look at this expansion. Or if you like dungeon crawls, you might want to take a peek at that one. It's on Kickstarter until the 18th. Next up is if you took a dungeon crawler and shrunk it down to a box of Altoid mints. And that's what we get here. We get Dark Tomb, the Ice Chasers. This is actually I think the second game in this kind of Dark Tomb series. It's basically, again, a dungeon crawl with different scenarios and characters you can play as with dice-based combat, where you're moving through kind of a map or a dungeon before some sort of like boss fight. But this one is really small. There's no miniatures. It fits in that tiny box. You build the map with cards that are shuffled, and you move cubes around on the cards in order to represent your character and the enemies. Very cool idea in order to have it be that tiny, because that really is small. It is like very small. And it seems like it's pretty well laid out. The iconography and everything looks nice. Even the cubes have like a tiny little printing on them for like the monsters and stuff. It has a 20-sided die that fits in that little tray. And I think it's $20, and I think the shipping is $7 in the United States. So, it's a lot cheaper than Deliverance, that's for sure. So, if you like dungeon crawlers, again, and you want one to put in your pocket or in your cargo shorts, and then go, skateboard, and then play the dungeon crawl at the skate park, there you go.
That's a great idea.
That's what the kids are doing nowadays, right?
Guaranteed.
I don't know. Okay, next up is a big one. Valheim was a very popular video game. How was that, 2 years ago? Maybe. I don't know. This is Valheim, the board game. And I think the goal with this game was to try and... I've never played Valheim, but to try and replicate the video game experience here in a board game. It's a cooperative game where you're fighting monsters, trying to kick them off this land. But you're also doing a lot of other things. You're collecting resources from the land, exploring the land, and then with those resources, you can build different furniture pieces in your house. You collect food, and then you cook food on your fire. There's like different food cards. So I think it's trying to simulate the survival and crafting elements of Valheim. And yeah, I think there were some recipe helper cards there as well. There's I think a couple different versions. The nicer version has like a big 3D house that you can put all your stuff in, and has wooden resource tokens, and then has big miniatures and stuff, where the base version is just all cardboard. So lots of options there. If you liked Valheim, or if you like cooperative games where you're fighting monsters, again, kind of like a dungeon crawl, but this one's more of like a survival game in a way. I do think there is, though, an end boss scenario for each of the kind of scenarios you play. But cool miniatures. Again, I think this is mostly for fans of the video game, but it does have cool pieces and components. So I think it's got quite a bit of love. It has over $1 million funded at this point. That one is Valheim, the board game. It is on GameFound until October 22nd. Yeah, the standard edition, 65 euros. And the deluxe edition is a much thicker box for 115 euros. Okay, going from a big game to a small one. This next one is called Mischief, and it is a small card game, but it's from a very famous card game designer. His name is Dan Kassar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he is well known for a card game called Arboretum, which I actually have. It's a brutal card game. I think it's very well made and very smart in how you play it, but it can be a very mean game where you're making these groupings of trees, and if I look over and see, oh, Devin's making that grouping of trees, I have the highest value of that tree type, so I'm just going to keep it in my hand, and since I have it in my hand, Devin will not be able to score those trees at the end of the game. So it's a very mean strategic game in that way. This one seems maybe a slightly less mean, but kind of similar in that you're thinking like between each like card play, I can play a card with the same value on the other side of this lane, and it will, I think, get rid of yours. Or I can play a card that will protect yours by being one value lower, and that gets me the friendship token. So he makes very unique card games, in my opinion. I like this weird, funky art style in this one. Since the games are so funky, it's hard for me to know if I will even like it. But just from the videos and the reading that I did, it did seem very unique. There's a couple different versions. I think the base version is $39. And then there are a couple more fancy ones that have like a cloth and a neoprene board instead of cardboard, and a couple other upgrades that are a bit more expensive than that. But wanted to give it a shout out because I do think it's cool when designers do unique things, and that's definitely the feeling I got playing Arboretum, and the feeling I got watching and looking at this game. But just know that going in, that there might be a tinge of like meanness in the game, but that's pretty common in a lot of card games. You know, where I can get 3 points doing this, but it's better for me to deny you 10 points. You know, which is just strategic play, but sometimes feels mean. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can do a lane battler and strategically stop you in a turn, but to know that I'm destroying your entire plan for the game. So like you're hoping so bad that you get your plan, and I'm just like, hey, I can't do it. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's a little more brutal than Radlands that we played a couple weeks ago. So I agree. But that's Mischief. It's on Kickstarter. Scroll up to the top, Devin. I actually didn't write down when that one ends. My mistake. It ends on the 22nd. Okay, next up is a game called Twisted Cryptids, and it's from a company called Unstable Games. And I'm generally not a fan of games like the ones this company makes. They made like Unstable Unicorns, I think was what it was called. And these games kind of remind me of like, what's that party game that everybody has played that I think is really dumb?
Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, or something like that, which...
I don't know.
Hey, you pulled one out. And anyways, but I did play one of their games that I like, actually. I bought it for our youngest brother. Not youngest, second youngest brother. And it was called Slay something. Dang it, it's Here to Slay. Here to Slay is what it was called. And it was a pretty fun little card game. I do think this company's games have cool artwork, but usually like the components are bad and like it's not anything to write home about. This one, it might be in that same like component boat because it's pretty cheap. Like $29 for the full game here is pretty low for Kickstarter standards. I imagine this game will probably come to retail and be sold on Amazon, which is, kind of where the rest of their games have exploded. And there's a few other editions you can get. There's one with these really cool vinyl figures as opposed to the tokens that you'll be playing with in the base version. But in this game, you're playing as these kind of cryptids, and you're hiding in the woods from people. And you don't want them to find you sometimes, and other times you need to kind of lure them around in order to score points. And so you're moving around on this board. It doesn't look overly complicated, but has kind of fun artwork as you're playing as these little monsters. And it's not really area control in that way, but you're moving around. You have to hide, and you put different stacks of cards in certain hiding spots. And if people go there, then you have to flip over the top card of that deck. And whatever card that is like what happens when they like almost find you. And it could be like one of them was you stood still and like pretended to be a scarecrow or something. And so there's like different things that happen when the people like try to see you. So I don't know. I feel like it could be a pretty fun experience, but I don't think every game from this company is for me, for sure. And yeah, like I said, the really expensive version I think looks really cool with those vinyl figures, but only get that if you're really rich. I would be just kind of going for the base version because that's a $200 set there. I think the one before it, the $140 one, maybe had the vinyl figures too. Oh no, they're acrylic standees, it looks like.
Yeah, they look like they're flat, and then these ones turn kind of like more.
Yeah, those ones are vinyl,
3D,
like nice 3D figures. But yeah, so I don't know. Check that one out if you like a simpler game. It looks a little bit unique. That is Twisted Cryptids. It's on Kickstarter also until October 22nd. Okay, and then we're going to end with a couple little card games. First one is called Ecologic, and it is a ecosystem game, is what it says. And very unique looking game here, where you start the game with 4 of these different like boards in front of you that kind of remind me of a section of the Wingspan board. And then you'll line them up in some way. And then I don't know every rule of how this works, but you'll basically be playing cards from your hand down onto your boards, and they'll give you different things, and there's different restrictions on where and when you can place them. And then I think it's a card drafting game, so you'll be either passing or discarding cards to the other players. But I think a couple of the important things here is they tried to be pretty accurate here with like the animals that are in the game and some of the like relationships that animals and plants might have together. And so the goal that he said in the video at least was that we wanted some people to at least learn a little bit about what relationships might exist in the wild. Seems like it's being made by a very independent team. The guy made the video all by himself, it looked like at the top. And it looks like a pretty solid game. I really like the artwork. There's like 250 or so cards, and I think they are all unique. They have cool artwork. And yeah, it just looks like it could be a pretty fun card game. I also like that on the back of the cards, it tells you what type of card it is. If it's like a plant or a bug or a bird or a fish. And so when you're drawing from one of the 2 face down decks, you're not totally blind. You can see like the backside of the card. You're like, okay, that one's a bird. I know I need a bird. Cool idea there. So wanted to give that one a shout out. I think it looks really cool. I need to look more into exactly how the draft and everything plays in the game. It also looked like it was delivering pretty soon. I think in December, which again is pretty uncommon, but probably just because they're a smaller entity. They're not going to have thousands and thousands of pledges. So kind of they can get it out a little earlier, I bet. So that is Ecologic. That one's on GameFound until the 22nd. Okay, and then last up this week is another card game. This one is from Thunderworks Games, who did what's that called? Cartographers, and some other games. I've only played Cartographers of theirs. This one is called Citizens of the Spark, and has some really crazy like fantasy animal artwork. I think the artwork kind of looks fun. It's like very colorful and quirky. And in this game, you will be taking a row of cards from this, I think it's a 3x3 grid. And whichever row you take, you then take all of those cards and put them in front of you. And if you already have a card of that type, then it stacks on top of it. And then after you take your cards, you get to activate one of your sets of cards. But the action that it activates will be at the strength level of however many cards it's stacked on. So your actions get stronger and stronger and stronger as you get more of the same card. And then everybody else gets to also follow and do an action in their tableau of cards if they have one that matches the same, I think, type. So there is a follow action, which is nice. And yeah, it's looks like a pretty simple game in that way. I'm kind of gravitating towards like simple card games I can play in like 20 to 40 minutes though. I think it's a kind of a sweet spot for a game like that. So it has a couple different versions. It's $40, includes 300 of those cards. Again, there's many duplicates because of that stacking component there. The $55 version has a playmat, and I think both versions come with a little bonus pack of cards for backing it on Kickstarter. Most of their games come to retail, so I imagine that this one will as well, but I don't know. I'm guessing that little bonus pack of cards is probably the Kickstarter exclusive. I really like that they have a plastic custom insert, like a good custom insert. So, yeah, I think that's kind of everything to know about this one. There are like, I just got a game that has this system and I really like it, where there are dividers between all of the sets of cards. Makes the storage in the box look really nice. And I do think the other cool thing about this game is, of that set of 300 cards, there are 10 cards of 30 different types. And in each game, I think you only take, I can't remember the number, if it was 10 or 12 of the 30. So you choose some and shuffle them all together in a big deck, and then you play with that deck. And so on the back of either the rule book or the box, they have like a suggestion table, and they say if you want like a fast game, choose maybe these ones. Or if you want like a longer one, or one that is a little meaner, or one that is a little more complicated, or whatever. And so you can make the game quite a bit different just by the different combination of those 30 different factions that you choose for that play, which is a cool idea. I like a little bit of variability, as long as the variability doesn't make it hard to remember how the game plays, or make setup a bear. In that scenario, it wouldn't. So anyways, I thought it looks pretty cool. I didn't love Cartographers though. I know I'm very much in the minority there. A lot of people love that one, but it's not my favorite roll and write. So Citizens of the Spark on Kickstarter until the 23rd. Okay, Devin, that's our 8 games for the week. Which one gets Devin's seal of pick of the week?
I think it'll shock you.
Oh boy.
But I'm going to go with, what do you think I'm going to pick?
With you saying it might shock me, I think I was leaning towards Deliverance.
No, sir. I'm going to choose Ecologic for a few reasons. Unique mechanics, small team. I respect people that, I don't know, it just kind of melted my heart when you said, I think he just like made his own solo video for this website. I was like, oh, I want him to do well. And like, he's trying to teach you something in the game, and there's the artwork's decent, fun little boards, and the mechanic of knowing partially what the card you're picking is interesting.
Yeah, I do think that is a cool. I like it when games use the back of the card because it's such wasted space sometimes. Sometimes I just like the cool artwork, but if you use it in some unique way, I think that can be really cool.
Yeah, so I hope they do well.
Mm-hmm. That's a good pick. I like that pick. For my pick of the week, a tough one. I think I'm actually going to give it to Citizens of the Spark, the one we were just looking at. A little bit of risk for me because I didn't love their last game that I played, but this one looks different. And like I said, I'm kind of into like shorter card games that you can play fast, but then have almost like infinite replay value, because next time you play it, even though you remember the rules, it's going to play differently just based on the people you're playing with, and in this game's case, based on which of those 10 mini decks you shuffle together. kind of reminds me of Compile, which we played and liked quite a bit recently, where you shuffle the mini decks together to make your kind of customized deck. So that's kind of a cool idea to have in a small little game here. So that's probably going to be mine. There were a couple others. Ecologic, I think, looks cool, and Mischief as well were probably my other two that I would have turned to. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Citizens of the Spark. And that one's on Kickstarter. I don't think I said this until the 23rd of October. All right, well, that's going to do it for Crowdfunding Corner. All right, Devin, just a little heads up. I didn't tell you this. Our video last week where we ended the podcast talking about what we talk about. Oh, yeah, it was the 5 games that we were most excited about from the SPIEL convention. Did really well.
Did it? Let's go.
Yeah, it's doing really well compared to some of the other videos I try to do. So I think that we'll probably make this like a permanent mainstay on the show, where we have like, it doesn't always have to be 5. Maybe it's 3 some weeks, like our top 3 favorite something. And I thought maybe we'd alternate like video games and board games from week to week, so that we'll have one video that goes up on the Super Game Brothers channel, and then the next week it'll be a video that goes up maybe on the board game channel instead. So that's kind of the thinking here, just because it seemed to do pretty well. And I like talking about lists anyways. So it's kind of fun. It's Halloween time, Devin. You've been watching lots of scary movies. I thought we would talk about the 5 times we were most scared in a video game that we finished. I specifically wrote in that we finished because I've had a lot of games that I've played that I was scared in but did not finish. Thinking of games like Outlast. I played probably an hour and I was like, nope, I'm out. Even Alien Isolation that we talked about earlier, I probably played 4 hours in that one and liked it. I probably should go back and finish it, but that one was right on the edge of like a handle. So that happens to me a lot. I don't think that happens to you like ever, where you're like, yeah, I'm just not gonna finish that unless the game's terrible. But it's not for scared reasons like it would be for me. So anyway, so that's why I put the differentiator there. So we're just going to go back and forth through our 5. And this is also one other note I wanted to put here. I put times we were most scared in video games we finished, and not our favorite like horror video games, because that gets into another rabbit hole of like, well, The Last of Us is going to be like my favorite one, but do I count that as a horror game? Like, I don't know. It's kind of scary at parts, but that's not kind of the point of that game, even though there are zombies and stuff. So I wanted this to be like a little different in that way. So times we were actually scared. I hope that made sense to you when you were reading the document earlier today. And even if you defined it differently than I just did, that's totally fine. All right. Do you want to go first or second this week, Devin?
I will start, actually.
Cool.
All right. First one for me, and I don't know if a lot of people know too much about this game, and I don't really have a perfect video to show.
That's okay.
But one of the scariest moments in any game I've ever played was this game right here. The Mortuary Assistant. Absolutely terrified me. It has the most random scares. I think each time you play the game, it's unique scares based on where you went. That type of thing. Some things don't happen in one playthrough that they happen in another. But, I mean, I remember playing this game and I walked past the window and it was just quiet. It didn't try to do a loud noise or anything. And I just saw a face just looking at me in the window. This is like, oh no. And I went from like working on the patient or whoever's laying on the table. And I turn and there's just this creature right above the medicine cabinet. And it like scurried away, kind of like glitched out of there. And I think I just screamed. So if you're looking for intense scares, Mortuary Assistant is truly insane.
Yeah, I Googled before making this list, what are the scariest video games? And this one was on every list. So I understand. I don't think I could, just based on that, I don't think I could play this. All right, my number 5, and mine are basically just games I've played, but I think Resident Evil 7 is probably the scariest Resident Evil I've played recently. I think first-person games are way scarier than third-person. Just you feel more like the character, and you have less of like a viewpoint of your surroundings. Especially because the POV in a lot of these games isn't like great. You can't like see your peripherals amazingly. So yeah, this one was scary. I think this was the first Resident Evil game in first person, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, not a lot of more details than that, other than I think this is the scariest of the Resident Evil games. I mean, there's a couple sections in Village that are like pretty scary, but I think this one's scarier like consistently all the way through, and you're like being chased through the house and stuff. Yeah, pretty scary. It also has that VR mode. It'll make you throw up probably, but that's probably also terrifying. But yeah, Resident Evil 7 was my number 5.
That's a great poll, and I agree with you. I think it's probably the scariest of the Resident Evil games because of first person.
Yeah.
My number 2 is this game, and this is one of my favorite horror games. But this game is basically a psychological horror trip the whole time. You don't know what's going on.
Oh, really?
Yes. Basically, you have a home base, and it's actually a home. You're like in a house, and you're exploring more and more of the house, the garage, the attic, the basement, eventually, the crawl spaces. And you'll be wandering around for a half hour. Nothing's happening. You're looking for clues and puzzles. You'll be going to walk around a corner, and there's just a face just staring at you. And I appreciate a scare that doesn't have to add so much noise. It's just like, whoa, unexpected. Also, one of the best horror games I've ever played. Confusing, doesn't hold your hand. A lot of fun. It goes into details about addiction and stuff, and it's a crazy video game. Truly, truly is. Highly recommend.
It's pretty. It's like pretty full length too, isn't it? I feel like some of the like other like horror games that are popular nowadays are like 1 or 2 hours or have a couple chapters. But this one's like a full longer game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. Yeah, creepy. You're on another level. I don't think I can do that one. But okay. Next up is a deep pull. A few of these other ones are. I don't play a ton of horror games nowadays. I generally know like what my threshold is, and bump up against it very rarely. But growing up, I think one of the creepiest moments as a 10-year-old playing this game for the first time at our cousin's house was when the flood first showed up in Halo. That whole level is like kind of creepy, has different kind of music, and I think it's like either nighttime or foggy or something when you land, and then you go into this place and you start seeing these like video logs of your like other soldiers on your team that are like dying, and you don't know what's getting them. And I remember thinking and talking to our cousin, we're like, oh man, there's gonna be like a new type of Covenant, like a new alien. And then it like totally swapped, and there's this crazy like zombie kind of what would you call it, race in the game. And yeah, what a memorable moment. And also like as a 10-year-old, I was like, what is going on? And some of them like explode, and some of them have weird arms that like they jump at you. So that was probably one of the scarier moments as a youngling. But yeah,
I replayed this recently, and it's not that easy.
Really?
Yeah, those early Halo games, I don't know if I ramped up the difficulty or what I did, but man, it was brutal.
Yeah, no, I believe it. But yeah, that's a good moment still. So the flood in Halo for me is my number 4.
It's perfect. My number 3 is from the highest reviewed horror franchise ever, Alien Isolation. It's a fantastic game. I can't see anything on the screen right now, but basically there's the gist of it. You're hiding under a dresser, and see, he's smart. He doesn't waste no time. Like most NPCs in games, they're like, oh, where did he go? I just saw him in front of this locker, and the only place he could have gone is in the locker, but I'm not going to check there. Not this guy. This guy will smell you from 30 feet away. If he spots you once and you try to hide, he usually finds you. Very, very intense. It's pretty
hard to get away. The hide and seek in this one is scarier just because he is much smarter than a lot of the video game monsters you're used to hiding from.
And he's big, he's super tall, and he's fast, and he uses the vents, and he'll open a locker and just pull you right out of it. Like you think you're safe and you're not, or you're just crouched under a desk, or you're in a vent and you don't think he's in there, but he's in there. He's in the vent chasing you.
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. This game scared me to death. Not in a like I'm terrified way, but just got my heart rate so high.
Yeah. I think like in a real life scenario, out of like all of the games that we're mentioning, like this would be one of the scariest like real life scenarios. And so I think it just gets your heart racing in like that way. It's not like I'm not going to sleep tonight. It's just like this is intense kind of way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So very cool. Good pull. We just talked about in this episode that they've announced a sequel is being made. Probably won't be out for a couple of years, but very timely. Next up for me, this is a recent game that probably did push against David's threshold a little bit, but the remake of Dead Space, for Devin is kind of weak sauce, but for me, this is definitely a creepier version of the third-person survival horror game than like most of the Resident Evils are. I think the sci-fi setting and aliens just kind of creep me out more than like Resident Evil settings, and this one's darker, more graphic and gory and stuff. I think it's a very awesome, fun game, but yeah, I don't know. I think space is also just like kind of creepy. For some of the boss fights, you'll be out in zero gravity and there will be like no sound. And that's such a weird, creepy vibe to be like fighting a fight and there's nothing. And even like shooting and blood and like things are exploding and there's just like silence. So anyways, I think Dead Space is great. I hope that one day they remake the second and third one, but I don't know if they're working on it right now, which is such a bummer because this first one is such a good remake. I didn't even play the original. And so I guess I'm not the perfect person to say if it's a good remake, but just from a game in 2023, I think it's an excellent, excellent game. So Dead Space Remake creeped me out a little bit, but I powered through.
You did good.
I did. I finished it.
All right, my next poll for number 2 is The Evil Within. There were multiple times in this game where I was pretty freaked out by... There's a lot of chase scenes in this game.
Yeah.
Like, here you go. I'm right on you now. And you're not in...
You know
you're going to have to play. I know. You're going to have to play this right from the cutscene. And you're like, oh no, I don't remember what's behind me, and you're panicking. You typically die in these scenarios a couple times. But this game was crazy. The Evil Within, both of them, I beat them both, and they're very unique games, but they're kind of cool in a way. I feel like there were like upgrade systems, open world areas. I don't remember too much. It's been a while.
Yeah, that director that directed them, I think it's Shinji Mikami. I think he directed Resident Evil 4 as well. So he's kind of like a king in that survival horror world. And I feel like these Evil Within games kind of remind me, if I took Resident Evil and mixed it with like The Grudge or like The Ring, I don't know, or something like that. They kind of have like that weird, more like Japanese horror with a little bit of body horror and like, I don't know. They're kind of odd, but I guess I don't fully know. I haven't played either one, but I did watch you play a little bit of them. So yeah, I'm glad you liked those. Number 2 for me is another deep pull from the past. I think when I was 14, the PlayStation 1 had already been out for like a decade, but in between playing games on our Xbox, me and my cousin, for some reason, pulled out our old PlayStation, and he had a copy of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And even though the graphics were kind of like brutal and not great. Going back, I remember playing this and being like, man, that Nemesis dude is so scary. And I think he's the highlight of this game because I don't think the game is like that amazing. And even the remake of number 3, I just felt like was pretty good, but not as good as a remake of 2 or 4. But Nemesis is such like a cool, creepy character. And in this game, he's just like always popping up and then he'll chase you down a hallway or down an alleyway. And I remember being really freaked out by him as like a 13-year-old. Yeah, there he is. He's just popping out of nowhere, grabbing you and yelling stars and shooting rocket launchers and doing whatever else he does. Doesn't really make any sense, but he's a big creepy dude. So yeah, that's a moment seared in my brain. I basically just made our cousin play the whole thing. I just kind of sat there and watched, but it was fun. So Resident Evil 3 Nemesis for the PlayStation 1, but we played it like a few years later. So anyways, that's my number 2.
That's an amazing one. I wrote 6 down. But I also wrote Running Away from Nemesis in the remake because he was so intense. I also remember playing, I don't know if it was RE1. I was on a train or maybe it was 0. I don't know which one it was. But I remember there were some in Resident Evil games. There's a lot of jump scares with dogs, and it was infuriating. And they would just like blast through a window, and it's like, oh my gosh!
Yeah, the first one they blast right through that window. Yep.
But I'm gonna play a scene from RE2. First time that you see Mr. X. So for anybody watching this on YouTube, this area was always intense. Basically, you finally are able to like put this fire out. There was a helicopter burning, and this is the first time you saw him, and it's just another moment like the Evil Within where you're faced instantly with the character, and there's nothing between you and them. It's like, okay, I just have to sprint backwards and somehow find a way to escape or get to a safe room. Let's see here if I can find the scene. But once again, another fantastic game. Here's the scene right here. He just lifts the helicopter and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because you feel so nerfed and slow in Resident Evil games, and that's a trophy right there. You can shoot
his hat off.
Shoot his hat off. That's funny. Yep. But yeah, he was intense. I was on edge the entire time going through that. What was it? Was it a police station that you were in number 2?
Yep.
And he's just always chasing you.
I agree. I think Nemesis is cooler and scarier than him, but I think number 2 remake is a better game. Like having it be almost exclusively in that one interconnected map of the police station, and he's just always around, like such a cool thing. And he's basically indestructible for a while. Just always walking. You can hear those boots just stomping around. Yeah, he's a very creepy dude in that one. Yeah, those remakes are really good.
Amazing.
Cool. Was that your number 2, or were you just kind of riffing on my number 2? And
I was gonna say that was just my number 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're on your last one here. Okay. And I agree with your last one. If I would have thought of this, I'd have put it as my number 1 as well.
Yeah. This is definitely the scariest game I've ever played, but I finished it. I love this game. I think it's great.
I don't.
But man, I've never been like, I would get like sweaty. I have a fear of the ocean, and so that's just kind of what gets me here. And this game, Subnautica, is a really fun like exploration game. You crash on this planet that's like covered in water, and you have to figure out a way to either fix your broken ship or make a new one to get back home. So yeah, it's a survival game. You like build bases underwater, and you're finding stuff, and but in order to build that, you have to find like all the necessary like fuel and build the new ship. And to do that, you have to continually go down deeper and deeper. And to do that, you have to build better boats and better like submarines. And then you start to see creepier and creepier things as you go down. You can avoid most of them if you're pretty good, but even just like seeing them and knowing that they are there is almost too much. And especially like once you get down there, it's like pitch black too. And
oh my goodness.
Almost can't handle it. So, and like what we're seeing right now seems like it's starting to get dark. This is like nothing. Like you're still not very deep at this point. Like
when you're just deeper in the vast openness and you see the things floating, I can't do it. I couldn't finish the games. I could not do it.
Yeah, it's hard. I almost have to take like little breaks. Because it like makes my skin crawl. But I think it's a very fun. I don't usually like crafting survival games. This one had a fun loop where like eventually you run out of air and like you need food, and so you have to go back to your home base where you've been growing food and water. And then you're like just slowly getting better and you're upgrading your suit so that you can dive longer, and then you're building new ships that can go down a little farther, and then you're building a ship that can like hold a couple of your ships inside of it that's like a big submarine so you can go down even farther. So it's just a fun loop of like going back and forth from the surface. But yeah, very, very scary. If you have any fear of the the ocean at all, like it's gonna get you. And a couple of the monsters, like the one we saw right at the beginning of this snippet, is called a Reaper. They don't hang out very deep. They're pretty shallow most of the time. And I think they're like the creepiest one in the game. But I mean, there are bigger, different kind of creepy ones down deep too. But yeah, they're just kind of, I don't know. Even there are some giant creatures in the game that aren't mean. They're just like swimming around, and I almost can't even stand to get by them.
I know. Trust me. Like I know. It's terrible.
It's just like a big turtle, and I can't. I'm afraid of the turtle. But that's the ocean. It's just a place humans are not meant to be. So I'm glad I beat this game. I actually got the platinum trophy for Subnautica. So if anyone ever tells me I'm afraid of the ocean, I can tell them I got the platinum trophy for Subnautica. But yeah,
did you find it on the surface? How'd you get it?
No, you have to go all the way down, and you like.
Nope.
I mean, I won't spoil everything, but there's all kinds of stuff down there. But yeah, that's number one for me by a long margin.
I think so too. I agree. I'm not just trying to drag myself into your poll for number one. I 100% agree. This is the scariest game I've ever played.
Yeah, it's a different kind of scare. It's not like a horror movie scare. It's like I don't even know. It's like an actual like I physically feel like ill almost kind of scare, which is weird.
Yep. I'll come across a video of some deep sea creature sometimes, and instantly my body goes into like this quick shock, and I'm like, nope, get out. It's weird, man.
Even I was scrubbing through this video trying to find like a moment, and I can almost barely stand to watch someone play it, which I don't know. It's crazy. But anyway, Subnautica, it is a very fun and I think a very like fulfilling and satisfying survival game. If you're not afraid of like the ocean, then in the same way that we've been explaining, then I think you should totally play it. It's really fun. So anyways, that's my number one though, totally. Subnautica. All right. Well, those are the 10 games and moments from those games that have been the most creepy to us. Let us know in the comments what the most scared you have ever been in a video game is. We'd love to hear about it. And thanks so much for listening and watching. And that's going to do it for episode number 28 of the Super Game Brothers podcast. Make sure to check out the rest of the content that we do. I do lots of board game stuff on Gaming Top Down. Devin streams on weekdays on Twitch. He's Player 4. And on TikTok, he's Player 4. And on YouTube, he just streams right to our YouTube channel. So you can find him there too. Right now he's playing Silent Hill 2. But I'm guessing he'll be playing some other horror games this month as well. So make sure to follow him there. We do a monthly giveaway. So make sure to join that before October ends. Giving away a copy of Disney Lorcana Gateway, which has a couple like starter decks in it to help you get started in that game, or a gift card. And yeah, I think, is that all the closing stuff? It probably is. Devin, it's not quite midnight. You going right to bed or grinding some more Clash? right to bed.
I might watch like an episode of Impractical Jokers or something, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
gonna
fun
be
one, right
I'm
before
gonna be in
bed.
bed soon. I'm pretty exhausted, to be honest.
How far are you in the show? Are you watching it like season at a time?
I went like to the end seasons, and then I started backtracking from like 8, 6, 7, 5, 4. So I started season 3 today.
Okay, fun. Yeah, I think almost all the seasons are excellent, so I don't think you're really going wrong with any of them. The most recent ones, though, where Joe Gatto isn't in anymore, is kind of a bummer because I think Joe is. I don't know that he's necessarily the funniest, but as like the loudest and craziest, in my opinion, I feel like he was kind of a bit of the glue. But they do have some fun guests on because of that.
Dude, so, I don't know who the bravest one is. They all have their moments where I'm like, I cannot believe you did that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's true. I think Joe's probably the most consistently brave, if I was going to pick one. But I do agree. Almost all of them have moments where I'm like, wow, I cannot believe you did that.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fun. That's a fun way to go to bed. I might turn that on too. I like that. Love that show. Makes me laugh hysterically. Cool, Devin. Well, thanks so much for recording with me. Everyone listening, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week for episode number 29. Till then, have a good one.